Hey, what's going on everyone? I'm back with another Pokemon deck profile. Unfortunately, due to various circumstances, I'm unable to do it on my computer on Pokemon Trading Card Game online. But, I still play the card game, so I have the cards to hand to profile the deck anyway for you guys. So, I recently got a second place at a local league challenge with this deck. And sure, we don't have a particularly large league, but this deck has been doing really well in other tournaments across the world as well, really. So I've picked this deck up. I've made a few changes myself for to be personal preference kind of cards that I like. So I'm gonna run through the deck with you, and it is White Kyurem. So White Kyurem, if you don't already know, it can do 160 damage for 3 energy, as long as it has a fire energy attached to it, of course. And 160 is a really relevant amount of damage to hit at the moment, because you can bulk that up to 190 with Choice Band, it can be 170 with Shrine of Punishment, it can be 180 with Professor Kukui. All of these cards would play in the deck, as you'll see, so really relevant number. You're going to be one hitting a lot of big basics, or you're going to be two hitting everything else. Also 130 HP is really great. Water typing, which is awesome as well, you'll see. Also able to hit Blacephalon GX, so you can take a one hit knockout on them because of weakness, and then they're going to have to commit most of the time 3 energy just to knock you out, which is amazing against one prize Pokemon like this. And of course, you're never really going to use it that much, but the first attack, you can discard stadiums, so if you don't have Shrine of Punishment to hand, you can use this to get rid of some sort of stadium that your opponent's using that's annoying you, like Wonder Labyrinth or Black Market, something like that. And the main engine of the deck is going to be Arceus Prism Star. So Arceus Prism Star lets you search for 3 basic energy cards and attach them to your Pokemon any way you like, as long as you have a water, grass and lightning Pokemon on your bench. And also does 30 damage, which is actually quite relevant, because in this Zoroark deck, or anything else with 210 HP, you can poke it for 30, and then you come in with White Kyurem and you'll finish it off, get a one hit, as long as you have the right other damage modifiers. And Arceus also has a good ability there where it prevents effects of attacks, which is quite nice. But mainly it's just for the attack, and it's really good getting our guys set up. And of course, for that attack, we have 2 copies of Tapu Koko. This is our lightning type Pokemon. Really great attacker, as we all know. It's been around for a while now, and we use this Pokemon because it has free retreat. So no matter what you're starting with, you can get out of the active because it has free retreat. And also Flying Flip could be quite useful in certain situations, just to finish off a Pokemon or bring down their HP a little bit. So 2 copies of Tapu Koko. And our grass Pokemon is going to be Pheromosa. And again, this has free retreat, so if you start with it, you can just retreat into Arceus. You can Guzma pick this up. If something gets knocked out, you can pick this up and free retreat into something else. 2 copies of this so that we can get it out fairly easily. If one's prized, then we still have an option for it. And I've seen a lot of people playing Zeb Striker instead of Tapu Koko, which is, fine. You can use Sprint to draw more cards, but personally, I like having Tapu Koko because it's a basic for one, and secondly, it has free retreat, and also the attack. You can just use Flying Flip if you need to use it. And that is our entire Pokemon lineup. You're only ever going to need those Pokemon. You're only ever going to need 4 White Kyurem if you're against a GX deck, but you can also recycle them with Rescue Stretcher, so that's all you need. And for the supporters and trainer cards, we have 4 Cynthia. You're going to want to be using this for the majority of the game to cycle through your deck. Usually you're going to be playing your hand out most of the time, so this is going to be a very valuable card for you. And speaking of valuable draw, you also have 3 copies of Lily. a lot of the time you're going to have this in your hand at the start of the game, and you're going to be able to get a big draw of 8 cards off of it, as long as you play out your hand, you know, fairly well, which most of the time you do. So 3 copies of Lily, which is great. And this is going to be where it's kind of weird after this, because we're playing 3 copies of Professor Kukui. And as I mentioned, you know, being able to go from 160 to 180, or if you have Choice Band, 190 to 210, or if you have Shrine of Punishment as well, it can push up to 220 damage. That's a lot of damage for one attack on a non-GX Pokemon. So being able to get that amount of damage out in one turn, and also drawing a couple of extra cards, can really help you out to swing the game in your favour. Personally, I've not been using it a huge amount. I do think I might be able to cut it down to 2 copies, especially with some of the cards that have come out in the newest team up set. So I'm definitely going to be playing around with that and seeing how it goes. Next up we have 2 copies of Tate and Lisa. Again, great shuffle draw, but also being able to switch if your White Kyurem does happen to take you know, a bunch of damage, say 120 damage, and it only has 10 HP left, you can just switch out, you know, just go into something else. It's perfectly reasonable. Most of the time you're going to be using it for that shuffle draw effect. Next up we have Crasher Wake. 1 copy of Crasher Wake. Personally, I just really like this card. Being able to search for 2 cards and putting 2 water in the discard is perfectly fine, because we play Aqua Patch, as you'll see shortly. So being able to search for any 2 cards out of our deck is absolutely phenomenal. You can get anything you need in a situation. The only caveat is that you need the water energy in your hand. And lastly, we're playing 1 Guzma, just to, you know, bring up something that we need to knock out, but most of the time you're going to be knocking out whatever's in front of you, so you don't really need to use Guzma all that much. That's why I've found that I only ever need 1 copy of it, which is perfectly fine. It's worked out great for me so far. Next up we have 4 Nest Ball. As you can see, all of our Pokemon are basic Pokemon, so 4 Nest Ball to search those out on the first turn or second turn of the game is essential. But I'm also playing 2 copies of Ultra Ball, because it's still Ultra Ball. You get to thin out your hand, you get to search for a Pokemon. It's still the best Pokemon search, so obviously it's still going to include those. Next up we have 3 copies of Acrobike. Great draw card if you draw into a water energy and something else that you don't need, or something else that you do need rather, and a water energy. Then you can ditch the water energy and you'll be able to get it back with Aqua Patch, or 4 copies of Aqua Patch. And these really get you set up in the early game, because you can manually attach, use an Aqua Patch, maybe even 2 if you're lucky, but certainly 1, because you'll be able to, on the second turn, your following turn, just attach another energy and start swinging with White Kyurem. And also it's great in the late game, because then you can get another Kyurem set up out of nowhere and just have multiple Kyurem across the board, which is really what you need at all times. You have to have, you know, 1 in the active and then 1 almost ready to go on the bench. And talking about being ready for extra Pokemon, we have 2 Rescue Stretcher. This was originally at 1, but I found that sometimes I just want to get 1 Pokemon back out. Maybe if I've prized a Tapu Koko or Pheromosa and I have to ditch 1 early on with an Ultra Ball or an Acrobike, it's good to get 1 Pokemon back. But then later on in the game you need to recycle a bunch of White Kyurem, so you have the option to do both. I like playing 2, just as a general rule of thumb, in the majority of my decks as well. I like playing multiple Rescue Stretcher or multiple Pokemon Recovery. And here's those damage modifiers, more of them that I spoke about. Choice Bands, playing 3 of those. As I said, get to boost your damage greatly. Not much more that you can say about that, but I've cut down from 4 to 3 so that I can put in 2 Wishful Baton. I've seen a lot of decks based around White Kyurem which are playing 4 copies of Wishful Baton and no Choice Band, which is fine, each to their own, but personally I would rather be hitting for, you know, potential one-hit knockouts against GX Pokemon, but then with the Wishful Baton is still in there for the non-GX Pokemon, because you can just, you know, flip-flop your energy around your White Kyurem for a couple of turns and it's really effective. Plus against Blacephalon, if they can't get rid of that Wishful Baton, they really are in trouble. Speaking about GX Pokemon, we have 3 Shrine of Punishment. As I said, it's phenomenal against GX Pokemon and I'd say it's absolutely essential for the matchup. And going on to energy, play a handful of water energy. It's 7 water energy, because you need it to attack, of course, and also 3 basic fire energy, because, as I said, Arceus is the quite literal prism star of the show, and you really need time to get your Pokemon set up, so you need a lot of basic energy. But in addition to that, I'm also playing 4 of the unit energy, because this just gives us a lot of versatility to go in and attach either a fire or water energy to your White Kyurem, depending upon the situation that you need it in. And if you are crazy enough and you're able to set up a Pheromosa, then the option is there as well to use Pheromosa as an attack, because it does 90 damage on its own, which is still, you know, reasonable. And yeah, that is my deck profile for my White Kyurem deck. It is definitely my favourite non-GX deck at the moment, and I'm going to continue to tweak it and update it with the new cards that have been released in Team Up. So let me know what you guys think of the deck and any possible kind of ideas that you have for improvements. Definitely let me know in the comments. Be sure to subscribe for more videos and share it around, like if you enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next video.